This is EduSpark's Learning Value Ladder. This model seeks to explain different learning activities and the inherent depth and breadth of the learning value associated with those. It's a broad model, seeks to trigger your thinking about learning design, about delivery design, and even engagement design. The first of these ladder points, if you like, is the consumption space. And I think this is the default space from which we work. The world is full of training videos. Watch this video, do this quiz, get this certificate. But unfortunately, watching the video and doing recall around a quiz has very little work involved, and learning is where the work is. Work is where the learning is. We can swap those two around. The more work, the more learning. And what we seek to do is increase the amount of learning that we ask the learner to do. In this case here, we are seduced into thinking, because we pay attention to a video, that means that it's work. But actually it's passive and it's very low level work, if any at all. Hence I'm giving this a score of 0. These are my arbitrary scores, by the way. Give an indication of my opinion of where I think the learning value might be. Now, where we often start, if we want to go above the line, is to ask individuals to reflect on something. At a lower level, we might just ask in an unstructured way, what are your thoughts about this? What comes to mind? If we want to increase the learning value, we use maybe protocols from Project Zero's visible thinking routines, Connect, Extend, Challenge, Think, Pair, Share, although that's a collaborative one. Those sorts of processes deepen the amount of work required to reflect. But at the end of the day, reflecting doesn't result in action. And action is another source of learning. We've got content as a source of learning. Action, implementation, doing something is another source of learning. There's a third that I'm going to raise in a little while that we'll see how it acts as a multiplier. There's a third source of learning, which I'll refer to in a little while, and it's the superpower, the big lever of learning. So reflection is a meaning-making engagement point. So reflection is a meaning-making exercise, has some value. I'm giving it a 1 times multiplier. It's our default next step above consumption. If we want to go higher or deeper, if you like, into the effort required, we ask our learners to create an artifact of some sort. Now, this could be a video explaining what they think of this particular content provocation, or maybe it's a course card or a visual of some sort. It might be a range of different tools that we use that might be like sketchnoting, and share your sketch note. So there's more work when we ask people to create an artifact of some sort. The artifact may be the result of the implementation too. So go back to your classroom, take a photograph of the way that you set up the classroom and make some comments on it. So we're particularly asking learners to attend to implementing the learning action and creating an artifact as a result of that action that summarizes their learning in some way. This also acts as a point of engagement for other learners in the program. And finally, we have this legacy from creation, where we create something of value beyond the scope and the context of the course that people are in, where they can use the video that's been produced to act as a training element or a training resource for other people who might want to learn from the implementation or the processing that's happened through reflection and such. So that ladder increases in value. The work increases commensurately. We go from consume to reflect to create artifact to create legacy, something of lasting value. Now, the big multiplier for each of these is when we take people out of singular engagement, engaging alone, we move them into groups. Groups of 2 or 3, or teams split up into groups of 2 or 3 is my suggestion. And what we've got here, if you consume some content in a group of 2 or 3, or a larger group that's split into groups of 2 or 3, naturally conversation occurs. And conversation is the third source of learning. And so I think that gives us almost the same as just reflecting alone. If we ask people to reflect in groups, again, using a protocol like Connect, Extend, Challenge, or Think, Pair, Share, or a range of others depending on your context, then I think we multiply significantly the value of that reflection. When we ask people to collaborate to create an artifact together that represents the meaning making or the implementation of the learning, that has increased value yet again. And I think at the top of the tree is when we ask people to create something of value that has lasting legacy, that has been created through the collaboration of creating that artifact of value, if that makes sense. So that gives you a sense of an overarching design of bringing much greater value to the work people do in courses. So if you're a learner, you can take yourself through this without the guidance of... So if you're a learner, you can take yourself through your own engagement in your course without the guidance of the creator. If you're a creator, think about how you might build your content, your delivery, and how you might instruct for the engagement such that people work in groups and such that you're heading vertically up through this particular value ladder. I'd love to know what you think. This is my interpretation of all of the conversations I've been having with creators in the past few months. And I hope that this brings some learning value and some insight to you too.